Hello YouTube. It is a rainy day, cloudy day in New York City. Rain, rain, go away. I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. There's a concert at Prospect Park. I'm going with my homegirl. I'm like, what we doing? She like, it's a concert or whatever. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. But I hope everybody's having a safe and blessed summer. Summer's almost over. My son's advisory actually called me to introduce herself. And school starts back for him on the 23rd. I'm like, what? And so he had told me, but I didn't believe him because my son, he goes to charter school and he's always going back on the 27th or 28th. But this year he's going back on the 23rd. So it's like, wow. That's around the corner because today is the 10th. Yeah, today's the 10th. And so we have one more week. He literally has one more week of summer for him. And then he goes back. And then, public school, they always go back after Labor Day. So it's like, yeah. Summer's always been quick, though. Summer's always been, it's quick. 1, 2, 3, and it's over. But today, I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about miserable people, specifically people in the church. And this is not throwing shade to anybody that's a churchgoer. Me, I grew up in the church and I'm always defend it to a certain extent. But I needed to address something because there's a lot of people, I'm not going to say weak-minded, but there are people who don't think for themselves. And it bothers me because I've always been a strong-headed person. And that's all I know how to be. And I'm not easily manipulated by anyone, whether it be in the church or outside the church. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a racism thing. But one thing I notice is when black people start making money, other black people want to call them a demon. Other black people want to say negative things about them. And I don't think that's a coincidence. So, fast facts. Beyonce, when a hurricane happened, this was pre-pandemic, Joel Osteen did nothing. And so, Beyonce did, right? Also, Beyonce has affordable, I think I told y'all she has affordable housing in Houston, and she has something else going on. Jay-Z has the Sean Carter Foundation. What is the Sean Carter Foundation, Crystal? It is a foundation to help kids go to college, right? Let's just call it what it is. Black ministers and black churches are not doing this. They're not. So as far as I'm concerned, Beyonce and Jay-Z are doing the work of the Lord. Whether they worship the devil or not, it's like nobody has any receipts, because this is my thing. Whatever you worship eventually is going to come out, right? So if they're supposed to be devil worshipers, where's the receipts of them walking to the Satan? Because they actually do have, in case y'all didn't know, Satanists have churches of their own. They have temples. So why isn't there any receipts of them walking to these places? Why nobody have pictures of them going? Nobody has pictures of them doing anything that's demonic. Why not, right? It's just like if you're, like with me, if I was famous, people will see me walking to the club. They see me walking to the park, going to Baptist church, and non-denominational and Pentecostal. Those are the churches I go to. Nobody could say I worship the devil, because I don't go to those places. People are always following Beyonce and Jay-Z. Why doesn't anybody have receipts of them worshiping the devil, right? And let's say if they did worship the devil, why is that they're doing positive things, but a lot of these black ministers that's talking about them, they're doing nothing? What are they doing? They're collecting your dollar, and what are you seeing the benefits of it? Nothing, right? My father's church is literally the only church that I know that they actually give back to the community. right? They actually do help people. They actually do have a scholarship fund. But that's just one black church. Black churches are the biggest scam in the black community. Yeah, I said it because it's the truth. So why is it that all these black ministers are going on Instagram? And at first I didn't really say anything because I'm like, whatever. But then when I start seeing people say, oh, you know, I was going to get a ticket, but I'm listening to you. No, that's where I draw the line. And that's called control, people. I'm telling you right now. Anytime when you want to do something and somebody's telling you not to do it and you listen, you're allowing that person to control you, right? It's nothing wrong with listening to good advice. But when it comes to how you spend your money, you know what that's called? That's called control. Because at the end of the day, that's your money. Now, for me personally, I did not spend my money on the ticket, and I'm glad I didn't, because her tickets went from $200 to $300. Now, those of you who are real Beyonce fans, once upon a time, like when I went to see her at CityFill in 2016, I went on SeatGeek and I was lucky enough to get tickets for $88 for me and my friend, right? So I've seen everybody in concert, from Mary J. Blige, I've seen Ella Mai, Drew Hill, New Edition, Faith Evans. I've pretty much seen everybody. Salt and Pepper, I seen them in the Highland Ballroom, which is like a club. Keisha Cole, Carl Thomas. I've seen pretty much every artist, pretty much. I live in New York City. So these artists, they come to Barclays, they come to MSG. New York City, when you live in New York City, if you want to see celebrities, if you want to see some show, you could see some show, right? So I've seen pretty much everybody in concert, pretty much. Whoever I didn't see, I didn't want to see them. I saw Erykah Badu, she came to Barclays. Her, Jill Scott, I've seen them all, right? I've never paid more than $100 for a ticket. Never. Now the inflation is something to consider, yes. But my personal opinion, I don't feel like it's worth it to be paying all that money to see. And Beyonce's very talented. But when I saw her in 2016, she was lip singing. I know what I saw. She was very far away, and I had to look at the screen for most of the part. I don't like that. You know, I feel like I was cheated out of, even though it was only $88. Her tickets this time around was $200 and it went up to $300. I was not going to pay $300 for a ticket to look at her in the screen. And it's funny because my old coworker, my cousin, and a girl I used to go to church with, they all put it on Facebook, on your story. And all of them were in seats where they had to look at this woman on a screen. And I'm looking like, they really paid that money to look at her on a screen? I guess they never seen her in concert before. That's what I'm guessing. I didn't bother to ask my cousin or my old coworker. Or I didn't bother to message them. But I was just looking at that like, wow, I guess they just wanted to get out the house, because there's no way at my age, at 34, that I'm going to pay my money, my hard-earned money. Now, if somebody else would pay for it and said, oh, let me treat you, yeah. But me, I'm not paying no $300 for a ticket and I can't even see you. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did that for Justin Timberlake. I paid $250 to see him. This was back in 2014. And he was so tiny. And that was the only time I spent that type of money for anybody. Because it's not worth it, no matter how talented the person. But you think I'm gonna listen to another human being that's hating? Because at the end of the day, it's hating. It is. Why is it that, and it's not just Beyonce and Jay-Z, it's like every time when a black person gets to a certain level economically, they get tore down by their own people. I don't think that's a coincidence. We need to stop being jealous of each other. It's like crabs in a barrel type shit. And it's like, why are we like that? Just like with even in the church, you have people who a church that I used to go to, the pastor, he became the bishop, and now his son is the pastor, and people who used to go was hating, like, oh, how he become bishop. Why don't you just be happy for him? Why are you hating? Why are we like that as a people? You don't hear Joel Steen talking about Beyonce, right? White ministers, and somebody responded like, oh, did you do the research? I said, yes, I actually did. And white ministers, they don't talk about celebrities. They really don't. When you listen to their sermons, they're focused on themselves and what they dare to preach about. They're not focused on Beyonce and Britney Spears. They could care less, you know. And my whole thing is, somebody mentioned it and I was so happy. They said Taylor Swift. I said, yes. First of all, Taylor Swift, her network is much higher than Beyonce. Nobody talks about her. Nobody, in a negative way. Nobody talks about her. But Beyonce, because she's more famous, like, it's more people that know Beyonce than Taylor Swift. Beyonce is getting all this heat. And I'm saying that all of this to say this. Make your own decisions and don't be brainwashed, because these ministers in the church that speak negative about people in general, it don't have to be celebrities. I've had my own experiences, and outside of the church too. Anytime when somebody's being negative, they are a hater, period, because happy people don't have time to be miserable. They're worried about their own dollars. They're happy within themselves and don't have to bring nobody else down. When you're happy within yourself, you don't have to bring others down. You don't have to do that because you're happy within yourself. How many homophobes do we know are gay? They talking about being gay is a sin, da 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 da, right? And then the next thing, what do you find out next? Oh, right? Let's talk about some gospel artists that's ungodly, like Tone X. What's going on with him? Nobody's talking about that though, right? Nobody's talking about how a lot of these gospel artists, they're not so gospel-y, but y'all want to talk about Beyonce. She's at least doing positive things in the community. When the hurricane happened, I think that was Texas, she was there and she helped out. She's supposed to be so demonic and all this stuff, but she's doing more than the ministers that's there. Come on now. So you got to look at a person's actions and what they do versus what they say, because talk is cheap, right? And I wanted to say that. I wanted to stress it, and I'm gonna put it on my shorts because I know I get more viewers on that. But make your own decisions, folks. Make your own decisions. Don't let these people brainwash you. And I don't know if those of y'all grown 20s, 30s, y'all been through it. When somebody sit there and criticize you. I had someone in my life, we used to hang out, and you know, summertime it'd be hot. I had my little shorts and stuff on, and they would be like, well, why you got that on? You ain't got no clothes on. Mind you, I was fully covered. I'm always covered, right? But they were criticizing me so much. One day, they get real drunk, and they made a pass at me. I wasn't shocked because that individual's insecure within themselves. So the only way they could feel better is to bring me down. And then when it came down to it, they were saying all that because they wanted to fuck me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, anytime somebody is on your case or they're on somebody's case, you got to look at them. You have to. Because it's only a reflection of how they feel about themselves. Because happy people don't have to tear. Yeah. Happy people, someone who's happy within themselves, they don't have to tear other people down. You will never see me get on social media, my YouTube channel, and just start talking about somebody. Because that's not me. I'm happy within myself, within my life, and I don't have to do that. So I just want to urge people, whether the person's a celebrity or not, a minister, they going in on somebody, start to look at their life. Try to look for the skeletons in their closet, because they are not happy. I don't care if it's a friend. I don't care if it's a family member. I don't care who it is. Anybody who wants to put you down for anything that you do. And I'm not talking about constructive criticism. I'm talking about straight put down. Like, they want to put down where you live. They hating. They want to put down how you live. It's something about it that they hating. They're jealous. Because again, happy people, they're too busy being happy to focus on anybody. Period. I had people, I don't know if I told y'all this story. I had people who, when I first moved out my parents' crib, it was a bunch of people, including a cousin, applied for NYCHA. I was the one who got the apartment. You know, all them people, not one of them came to my housewarming. You know who came? People who lived in the suburbs. People who lived in nice places. They the ones who came to my housewarming. But the ones who applied with me and didn't get it, they was hating. They was like, ah. I was like, but y'all, we all applied together. All of us applied together for the same thing. And I got the apartment. Oh, I don't want to live in the projects, no way. But bitch, you just signed up for it, but you ain't get picked. Hating. You know, or like, I remember, I have so many different scenarios and examples. But another one that sticks out to me is I was applying for a company called Andrew International. Now, this girl, I met her at Barclays, and she was putting me on. She was like, this ain't enough money. This is chump change. We need to get second jobs. So I followed her lead. And I was telling her, I was like, well, my homegirl, she work at 9/11 Memorial, Andrew International. So I think I'm going to check it out. So she applied for it. She was like, and back then minimum wage was $7.50. So she's like, I'm applying for a $10 one. I was like, well, I don't really want $10 an hour. I want more, but I'll apply for that too. Do you not know when it came down to it, I got hired and she didn't? You know what she said to me? Oh, they probably hired you because you gullible. What? We just applied for the same job. We went on an interview together. I got hired, she didn't, and she's throwing shade. Hating ass bitch. Like, and I just laughed because I'm like, you talking about I'm gullible because I accepted a $10 an hour job, but you told me before we got here that you applied for it on the internet. So what are you talking about? How am I gullible? Oh, they saw you coming. You gullible. That's why they gave it to you. I said, yeah, so I got it and you did it. So you did not. So you're hating right now. Instead of saying congratulations, that's what's up, she's throwing shade. Like, you gotta pay attention to people like that, right? Misery likes company. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Like, please do not let nobody brainwash you, especially when it comes to your money. I don't like that. Like, oh, I was gonna go to Beyonce, but yeah, I'm not gonna get the ticket because some pastor said so. Yeah, they can't go because people are looking at them like, oh, are you going? Let me tell you something about ministers in the church. And this is gonna ruffle some feathers, but I really don't care. A lot of pastors, and not all, I would say about 80% of ministers, they don't live the life the way they want to. They live it because they know that they have people looking at them. You got a lot of pastors out here that wish they could be normal and live normal lives, and they cannot because they have thousands of people looking at them. You know that can cause mental illness. It really can, because you can't live your truth. You can't. You know how many of, like Eddie Long, not throwing shade, he was gay. Like, you have all these accusations. Now, granted, the accusations might have been false, but the point is he obviously was gay. To me, he had very, much so gay tendencies. And this is how the accusations occurred. He obviously liked men, but he couldn't go out and be himself because he was a bishop. That's what I'm talking about. So right before he died, all these accusations came up. And my take on it and my discernment, I don't think, because those same boys was like, he did not molest them. He was inappropriate with them. And I know exactly what he's talking about because I had a lot of men in the church that were inappropriate with me. They would say things to me that was sexual. They would look at me in a sexual way. They would wink their eye. I never told my father because my father would have fucked them up. My father will beat your ass in Jesus' name. That's the type of father I have. My father is saved, but he's from the streets. So every now and again it comes out. It does. He's human. I never told my father, but there were men in the church that flirted with me, that said sexual stuff to me, that wanted to sleep with me. And while I was a kid now, I had to ignore it. There was nothing I could do. So I totally get what those young men were saying, because if it happened to me and I'm a female, right, it shows that they had fetishes, that they liked young girls, and they were ministers. So I never said anything because it would have been a whole drama. It would have been they never touched me. They never touched me, but they were inappropriate with me. So I know what they're saying is the truth because I went through it. So, so Eddie Long couldn't live his truth. He couldn't be gay. So what he did is he was inappropriate with those young men. And I believe it, and he died not living his truth. And it's sad. And George Bloomer took up for him because that was his boy. He came to my cousin's church some years ago. This was like 2010, probably 11. I was still living at home. And Bloomer was like, don't talk about people because it could be you. We all have skeletons. We all have things that we're not proud of. And it's true. You're supposed to keep somebody in prayer. But don't let these ministers fool you, guys. Don't let them, you cannot look to people. Look to God, okay? If you want to go to the Beyonce concert, go. If you could afford it, go. I'm going to be real with you. I could afford it, but I don't see it as an investment. I don't see why I should pay $300 to look on the screen. However, I'm not going to discourage somebody else. Now, if somebody's trying to invite me, I'm going to say no. Now, if you want to treat me, oh yes, I'll go. I'm not going to deny it. You want to treat me, but I'm not spending my money on Beyonce, okay? I'm not going to say, oh, satanic and demonic. I don't need to say that about her because at the end of the day, she has a God and to answer to. And I am not her God. That's what people fail to realize, right? But beware of your discernment of not just these artists, these ministers too. Beware, right? Listen to your heart, not these ministers, because guess what? They sin also. So I don't understand how people going to sit there and listen to a human, this flesh, we sin. Okay, the same minister talking about something you ain't supposed to fornicate. Guess what? They lusting after you. I've seen it myself with my own eyes. Don't get me started. And those are my thoughts.